Hey guys, welcome to Inner Peace with Netta. I'm Netta. Welcome to this channel. And on today's video, I will be talking about not feeling good enough. So, what is not feeling good enough? I believe we all have felt it. Okay, so it's tied to our self-esteem, and we can create a lot of coping mechanisms, especially like negative ones of addictions, whether it's to drugs, alcohol, food, people, sex, um, just these habits that will sabotage us. We may procrastinate, waste time, we may overwork, not work as much as needed, not put in as much effort, should I say. Um, just all the habits that you don't need, you may have because you don't feel worthy enough. You may not believe in yourself. You just have this fearful, fixed mindset, and you don't see yourself in a loving way. Your self-love is very low. Okay? So I definitely understand what this feels like, especially in times of unknown. Okay? I feel like during the unknown, that's when it gets really scary, but we should look at the unknown as a beautiful space. The unknown brings changes and transformations, and that's where we ultimately grow. Okay? And sometimes when things are going good and they change, and we lose these titles and we lose aspects of ourselves, or just the whole chapter of our lives has changed and we're unrecognizable, it can be scary. Now, when you get to the point to when you're unrecognizable, it's not scary anymore, but during the process, it is. And you may not feel good. And that's just one aspect, and I'm just talking about like a process. But some people have never felt good enough. And I feel like everyone should feel good about themselves. I feel like when you don't feel good about yourself, then you don't treat others well, or you're codependent upon others to validate your worthiness or your self-esteem, and that creates problems in this world. Or either people try to do things that will validate them, And I speak a lot about this on the channel. I always talk about, knowing your value and knowing your worth. And don't measure your worth by anyone else's values, So, but what I really wanted to get into today is why you may not feel worthy. Where did this come from? So, you know that as an adult, you are responsible and accountable for yourself. You are responsible for reparenting yourself. And whatever you missed out as a child, it is now your responsibility to give that to your inner child self. Okay? It is a hard process, but it's a meaningful and a purposeful process because it heals us. And if more people do inner healing and going through the process and really, acknowledging their wounds and taking the time to love themselves without guilt or shame, and become the warrior and the winner that they truly are, we would have more, solutions and healthy self-esteem in society. instead of everyone saying, see me, which is not a problem. But in what way do you want to be seen? And this is no judgment. You want to just be seen in your most authentic way. And it's hard to get to your authenticity if you don't feel worthy or if you don't feel good enough. And it took me a long time. I feel like I'm still going through the vetting process. And this is something that I have to continuously, positively reinforce. And it begins once you start going through the process of healing, of, and moving forward, and not to get stuck in the healing process, is to reprogram what you say to yourself in your mindset, and to really have the faith and have the self-belief. And I laugh because I know sometimes I don't believe in myself, or I don't see myself as brave or have the courage, compared to what others may see in me. And it's like I understand and not feeling worthy enough or not feeling good enough. But I've, come to terms with, you better see yourself being good enough and being worthy. Because say if you didn't have those people who told you, you were, it wouldn't be a good look. And you don't need those people. It's nice, but it's not needed, and it's not a healthy way to live. I always talk about inside out, not outside in. All right, let that be an addition to what you feel about yourself within. And to live in this world, you have to have courage and be bold, and you have to have that self-esteem, that confidence, So, with that, I just wanted to talk about some ways that may be causing you, to not feel good enough, or what may have caused it. So the first one is you may have hidden, core beliefs in your subconscious that, you're not good enough. And or either your unconscious mind, that you're not good enough. And if you dig deeper, you will see more. And I always talk about writing it out. Just write it out, why you don't feel good enough. I wrote plenty of letters to myself to see what is these core beliefs, so that I can build a better foundation. Because if you don't feel good enough and you have these hidden core beliefs, your foundation is going to be rocky. And when you're trying to build a solid foundation, you don't need a solid concrete foundation. Not something that's just all over the place, not, just out of balance. You need something solid. Solid as a rock. Okay. I'm going to stop. That just popped up into my head. So, the second one. You may have went through, something in your childhood, okay? And maybe your parents were like aloof, maybe they just like really never attached to you, or they were just going through their own stuff so much that they didn't have any awareness that they weren't paying attention to you, or just had no time, or they just had their own issues and life lessons, and they didn't know how to handle it. And maybe, just during the ages from 1 to 7, which is very critical to have that attachment and that unconditional love with your parents or guardians. so that you can have a healthy form of self-esteem. If you had parents who were aloof or abusive or just weren't stable or just had a lot going on and they weren't there to properly raise you, then you may have, a feeling of not feeling worthy. And you as a child didn't have the cognitive resonance to say, okay, my parents is going through something. My mom or dad may have depression, or my mom and dad, are going through something abusive or lost their job or are stressed out or maybe have a mental illness, or you just, as children, we don't know what our parents went through. We just didn't have the cognitive resonance. Why? Because they were supposed to be teaching us and attaching to us and attuning to us, even on an energetic level, especially with our mothers, and just having that relationship. So as a child, you don't understand, so that's why as adults, as we grow older and we really unpack our stuff, it's like, okay, I can see why as a child I felt like this. So that's why I said as an adult, now we can look at it from a different lens. Not saying everything will be excused, but this is where you can give forgiveness. But you can understand where these beliefs come from or what happened during your childhood. Also, I always speak about this, you may have had some trauma any time in your life to where you don't feel worthy. You could have had some form of betrayal. And the trauma could have been like domestic violence, loss of a child, loss of a career, a job, just family, just whatever that caused trauma. Health, just anything, relationships, anything. Then betrayal. Betrayal can come from family, friends, anyone in society. And that can make you feel like you're not good enough. So, these are just some ways or some aspects that you can look into to see why you aren't feeling good enough. But ultimately, I'm going to tell y'all what I know how to do best, and that's write it out. Write it out and write it out and write it out. And of course, get you some help. A good therapist, what I've learned is, for me, I always wanted a therapist to give me feedback, and there were always different types of therapists, right? And this is if you feel like you need a therapist. So make sure you get the right one for you. But a good one is a cognitive behavior therapist, because they're dealing with the present moment. And remember, I always talk about triggers. You're being triggered for something in the past. If you're not feeling good enough now, it's not from the past. It's when you're being triggered, you're being taken back, and there's a core belief from the past. But it's something right now that's triggering it. Okay? So, or get a coach. Get you a life coach, spiritual coach that can help you move forward. Okay? So, do those and just go with the growth. Just continue to challenge yourself in your beliefs. And soon I will be opening up my coaching practice again, okay, for women empowerment and just helping, women feel empowered and to living your best life and aligning with your inner essence. I'm open to coaching, everyone, but my main focus is women, okay? So, thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. I love you guys. Peace.